بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله وعلى أهل بيتك المظلومين. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة. غريب يا مظلوم كربلاء، يا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. ولعنة الله على أعدائكم ومنكرين فضائلكم إلى قيام الدين. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته. في الحمد صلى على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل. It is inevitable, at least once in our lifetime, we as individuals have taken certain characteristics in the society that we live in as role models. And this is something that is widespread, from a child that is in prep to someone that has finished their PhD. Everyone, at least once in their life, has taken a role model. And psychologists have said that the reason why individuals take role models is that so they can draw for themselves a path to reach. And that's why, if you look at the legal field, for example, once you finish your standard bachelor and then you intend to become what they call a barrister, you need to study underneath another qualified barrister for at least a year. They call this mentorship. And the reason why this is important is because through what this mentor has to offer his mentee is the experience that he has. So the mentee, when he goes to his mentor and he sees what the mentor has to offer, he benefits from the experiences. He benefits from the knowledge that his mentor has. And it is something that is drilled within us from a young age. If you have a young child and you see him, for example, playing soccer, you will say to him, the way that I seen you play today was like how Ronaldo plays. Or the way that I seen you play today was the way that Messi plays. So then this young child grows up thinking that if I was recognized through my ability and my capability in playing this sport, I am recognized as being someone that looks like my role model. So then the individual strives in the path that they are in. They continue pushing themselves so that in fact one day, even though they don't have a link with Ronaldo or Messi, even though they have no probable cause that could potentially reach where these two individuals have reached, but the child doesn't know that. He takes this individual as a role model. Even in our day-to-day lives, if someone wants to open up a business, they look at successful businessmen, someone that is successful in the society that they live in. Either they go to them, they approach them, they try to benefit from the experience that this successful individual has, and they try to implement it in their day-to-day lives. And there is no objection in having a role model. It is extremely important that in your life you have a role model, someone that you can look to, someone you can refer to. However, we tend to confuse the equation when it comes to our lives. I've spoken about this previously. You can refer back to the series called The Scales of Life. I have a series that I spoke about in Muharram that speaks about how we as individuals have placed our secondary needs in front of our primary needs. Our secondary needs, my brothers and sisters, the job that we work, the food that we eat, the house that we live in, the car that we drive, everything that we need to survive is secondary. Our primary needs are our obligations, your prayers, your fasting, your hajj, your ziyarah. These are primary needs. And the greatest evidence we have for this, one day, Junada enters upon Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, a story that we've all heard, and he says, "Oh my master, give me advice." He says, "Oh Junada, prepare for your afterlife." And then he says to him, "Oh Junada, build for your dunya as if you will live forever." Build for your dunya as if you will live forever. And build for your afterlife as if you will die tomorrow. Imam al-Hasan's equation alayhi salam isn't neglect the dunya and primarily focus on the akhirah. He presents an equation that you can achieve both of these if you understand the equation. The equation is placing your primary needs before your secondary needs. When it comes to your life, my brothers and sisters, there is something that is important when it comes to our spiritual life. It isn't only important for us to take role models when it comes to our social life. Even in my spiritual life, I need a role model. What this means is, it's extremely important that you find yourself a mentor in the Islamic field, that you can benefit from them, that you can refer back to them when you are in a time of confusion. And that is the responsibility of a scholar in the society that you live in. If you see a scholar present in your society, it is their role to be your spiritual mentor, to be your spiritual aider. And that's why when Imam al-Rida alayhi afdal salati was salam was asked, "Oh my master, how is it that I can perfect my salah? How is it that I can improve my salah?" Imam al-Rida alayhi salam says, very simply, before you stand up to pray, picture one of us, the Ahlul Bayt, standing in front of you, and then do takbiratul ihram and pray. Picture as if one of your imams is watching you pray. Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, through doing this, placed the Ahlul Bayt as role models in the life of this individual. When you get up to pray, picture one of us observing you, one of us looking at you, one of us judging the way that you pray. And I recall a group of youth approached me once asking, how can we perfect our salah? How can we focus more in our salah? I said to them, why do you think that wudu is a prerequisite, tahara is a prerequisite? Why do you think that the adhan and the iqamah are mustahab? Why is it that it's mustahab to do 7 takbirat before you do your final takbiratul ihram. I said to them, all of these mustahabbat, bring them together and try to connect the dots together. Sometimes we might say, I am failing spiritually. I feel that there is that spiritual void. In society, I'm doing very well. The society that I live in, I'm very successful. But I feel that void in me, that spiritual void, especially when it comes to my salah. The greatest step that you can do to perfect your salah is to implement these recommendations that I'm going to give you. Number one, before you go to perform your salah, try to recite the adhan in your house. We have a number of narrations that speak about the importance of you raising your voice in performing the adhan in your house. One, it brings barakah. Two, it expels all forms of negativity. Secondly, before you say takbiratul ihram, recite the iqamah. Sometimes, as they say, if you lose something, go and pray. Why? Because the moment I go to stand on the prayer mat, I think about everything except salah. So the joke was, stand up to pray because you will remember everything except the salah that you're praying. Whereas if I recite the adhan and then I recite the iqamah, at least I have freed up at least 1 minute before I recite takbiratul ihram. Whereas many of us, I myself included, adhan goes off, we're busy, we're working, straight away Allahu Akbar, without even standing and taking a deep breath. Allahu Akbar. And then once you get to your second rak'ah, you are in a form of confusion. Am I in my second, my third, my fourth, my first? Whereas if I stand up, I wait the extra minute, I perform the adhan, I do the iqamah. And then if I want to add the icing on the cake, I do the 7 takbirat, the 7 mustahabbat before takbiratul ihram. So the moment I say Allahu Akbar and I enter into that state where I speak with Allah, I am prepared. That's just one bit of advice when it comes to your spiritual side, boosting your spirituality. It's important that the same way, when you go to look for a spiritual role model, not every Tom, Dick and Harry that you see in the society that you live in is approachable to be your role model. The same way when you want to go to the doctor, you say, this doctor looks good, this doctor looks dodgy, this doctor has a certificate, this doctor has a certificate from China. You are very skeptical before you want to do any medical procedure because you want to make sure that you are safe. Then why is it that in the society that you live in, you classify all people that wear turbans as scholars? The same way that you are paying attention to detail for your health, pay attention to detail from the scholars in which you take your knowledge from. And that's why they say there are wolves in sheep's clothing. Sometimes we see that there are wolves in our society, very dangerous individuals, but they are dressed like sheep. They dress like they are innocent individuals, whereas their aqaid are incorrect. Their speeches are full of imperfections against what the Ahlul Bayt say. The same way that you pay attention to your health, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, when he speaks about the verse when Allah Ta'ala says, and let the individual look at from what he consumes his food, the Imam says, look at from where you consume your knowledge. Not everyone that speaks about religion and speaks about Tawheed we can take from them. Because unfortunately the Tawheed that some individuals call to ends up resulting in you falling into shirk. So that's one important point. The second important point, my brothers and sisters, ask those that have suffered when it comes to spirituality. No matter how successful you are in the society that you live in, if you don't have a spiritual connection with a religion that brings comfort to your heart, you will never find satisfaction. Let me give you 3 examples. The first example is a very famous, and I don't want to unpurify this blessed pulpit by bringing such individuals as examples, but from the door that we live in the society that we can understand from where these individuals come from. There is a singer, I rather not mention his name on the minbar. There is a singer in the Arabic world. 15 years ago, they had an interview with him. They said to him, "What is your dream? What is a wish that you have?" So then he responds to the person interviewing him. He says, "My dream is that I don't die as a singer." He's a famous singer. He says, "My dream is that I don't die as a singer." When I heard this video, it was from 15 years ago. I searched this individual's name on social media. The latest music video they have is from a month ago. I said, "Subhanallah, you never know when you are going to die." When you fall into, let's say, the example of music, let's say the example of things that don't necessarily bring us close to Allah, the more we indulge in this, the more we drown, the more we harm ourselves. We aren't harming anyone else. We aren't harming Allah Ta'ala. We are harming ourselves. I recall a lecture by Ayatollah Sayyid Mohammad Hourani rahmatullah ta'ala alayh. He says that there is a narration: for every sin that you sin, a piece of your intellect is lost that you will never recover. This is how dangerous it is. When you fall into sin more and more and more, you leave. أحسنتم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. خلينا نشوف يا رجال منتبه. What was the last thing that I said? أحسنتم ما شاء الله زين. The more that you sin, the more blessings you lose. In the end, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He grants you something, it is for you to benefit from it. The second individual that I will mention, Robin Williams, that famous movie actor who ended up committing suicide in my early teenage years. I ask you, my brothers and sisters, why is it that when we have successful people in the society that we live in, they have money, they are rich, they can do whatever they want, why is it that we end up seeing that they commit, for example, suicide? They have everyone's dream, financial freedom. It is because there is that spiritual void. There is a spiritual void in their heart. Let me read for you a narration, and inshallah I will end. The greatest role model that an individual can take is the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Ra'd, verse number 28, what does He state? He says, "Surely in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find comfort." In the remembrance of Allah, your heart finds comfort. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam translates this. He says that in Abil Qasimi Muhammad, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, he says that in Muhammad the hearts find comfort, for he is the remembrance of Allah and Allah's veil. Surely in the remembrance of Allah the heart finds ease. Imam al-Sadiq says, through Rasulullah, the heart finds ease. The greatest role model that an individual has, or the greatest role model that a female has, and inshallah I will end on this. A narration that was mentioned in Amali al-Saduq and Al-Allama al-Majlisi, A'lallah maqamah, in his book Kitabu Bihar al-Anwar, he mentions this narration. One day Amir al-Mu'mineen approaches Rasulullah. Rasulullah says to him, "Oh Ali, you are my backbone, you are the sword that fights in this ummah, you are the hope that I have in this ummah," up until he says, "Oh Ali, it is as if I am looking at my daughter Fatima as she is approaching on the day of resurrection. And on her right there are 70,000 angels. And on her left there are 70,000 angels. And behind her there are 70,000 angels." And then he says, "Oh Ali, she will lead the believing woman of my nation to paradise." Then Rasulullah gives Amir al-Mu'mineen a criteria. He says that any woman who prays her 5 daily prayers, who fasts in the holy month of Ramadan, who completes her obligation of Hajj, who performs her zakat, she who is obedient to her husband, and she who has the wilayah of Ali will enter paradise by the intercession of my daughter Fatima. Salamullah alayha. A woman's greatest role model is Lady Fatima. Not this feminism group that comes out in society and says to you, you can go out and work, for example, your husband is oppressing you, who said that you have to be a stay-at-home wife, who says that you can't go out and study. We're not against that. But the way that they come and they try to manipulate the sisters in the society that we live in, why are you wearing hijab? You are in a progressive society. There is no need. Hijab was back for the olden days. This isn't someone that we should allow to manipulate us. Our role models should be the Ahlul Bayt, and only the Ahlul Bayt عليهم أفضل الصلاة والسلام. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج وامنن علينا برضاه وهب لنا رأفته ورحمته ودعاءه. اللهم فرج عن أهلنا في لبنان واحفظ مقاومتنا إن شاء الله. وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة. تسبحكم الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.